I'm John Pendry. I'm a professor of physics here at Imperial College, and I've worked here for a good long time, since 1981. I can't remember a time when I was not interested in things related to physics. You have to remember that when I was growing up, it was the 40s and 50s, when there was a huge excitement for science, the endless frontier and all that sort of thing. And so there was lots of magazines and books which enthused people for science. It was an extremely exciting time for the scientists themselves, and also a lot of young people were brought into science at that time, and I was one of them. I think you find that people who have had a career in academic science, certainly, very often their interest in science, as I explained, started well before school or certainly university, and that was true of me as well. I had a great interest in all things to do with science, and did a great deal of experimentation, both in physics and chemistry. I used to build crystal sets and then radio sets. But those early experiments were very important in forming one's mind as to how science works and how you progress a scientific problem. I think the most exciting event was when I realized that these new materials we were working on, particularly the ones with negative refractive index, that you could give a prescription for a lens that was perfect. And I remember walking from my study to the dining room where my wife was preparing lunch, and saying to her, if I publish this, I will either be famous or infamous. Fortunately, the idea was right. So it was a result that anybody could have shown since Maxwell wrote his equations down almost 150 years ago. And it remained hidden from us all until I stumbled across it. I wouldn't say I was looking for the result. It was something I was testing, expecting to find quite a different result, and this truly astonished me. It's an amazing result that you can find a material that will focus light without any limits to resolution, and it was a real shock to my system. It's always important, I think, to be aware that whatever you're working on, it's very likely that in 10 years' time it's not going to be the hot topic of the day, and if you've done well on it, you should have made sufficient progress that it's probably finished in 10 years' time. So planning to move on is part of career training for a scientist, and I do that by trying to keep aware of results outside my own field, keeping aware of what's going on, and a watching brief, and always be on the lookout for the next problem. So about every 10 years I've shifted the emphasis of my research. Often it's been a case of carrying skills across from one field to another, so it's not been quite the step function discontinuity it's perhaps seen to a casual observer. I think it's very hard to barge into a field when one doesn't bring anything that one can contribute. It's much easier if you bring across some technique. One should always keep an open mind outside the narrow confines of one's own research, because you've got to be prepared to look for the next topic of research, and if you don't, your research will fade and die. You have to be exceptionally lucky, or certainly exceptionally improbable, to carry in the same field of research successfully all your life. Working fairly hard all one's life, one gets little chance to look back and summarize and ask what it was all about and so on. And particularly changing fields, one comes across new characters all the time. But you know, they say that before you die, your whole life flashes before you. I think my Pendry vest will be a little bit along those lines.